After a year in another world, he defeated the Demon King and he came back to Earth hoping that his loser life would come to an end. But no, that's not what happened. His parents died, his friends left him, he was betrayed, he was looked down upon. And so he decided things won't remain the same, and he became the villain of the story. And as he went on with his rampage, he killed a student who had everything, his family, his sister, and his grandma. He then resurrected into a world, defeated the Demon King, and came back to Earth, promising to kill that hero. The student is on his way home. He says, "Mom and Dad, it's been almost 1 year since I got hit by a truck, and he was transported into a mystical world. He mentioned that at the beginning he cried a lot and just wanted to run away, but somehow he adapted to this world. He entered the battlefield fighting amongst his comrades against these ugly monsters. He said that camaraderie and courage is something I didn't know when I was just a normal person. He says, Mom and Dad, I don't know if you will understand what I'm telling you. I've truly gotten stronger." He slashes a monster, and just like that, he has become overpowered. However, he loses one of his comrades, and in his arms, she smiles, telling him to make sure to win the battle, and this was a mage of their party. He truly gained a lot, but he also did lose the same. And so, as he's writing his final messages, this is the end of the year's journey, because he is in front of the Demon Gates castle. Somebody goes up to him, wondering if he's ready, to which he says, yes, as he puts away his paper. He says, "Please pray for me, so that the Demon King can be defeated and I can return to my daily life as the rest of his party is behind him, ready to take on this evil Demon King." He says, "I want to see if this was just a dream or a memory, but my comrades are calling for me, so I should go now." He has a look of absolute anger on his face, ready and determined to defeat this monster of a Demon King that looks like a galaxy wearing a cloak. This is Kim Min-soo. Inside the city walls, everybody's cheering and happy because their world is finally free because a hero has succeeded in defeating the Demon King. They are enjoying a feast in the castle, but he seems a bit gloomy. The healer tells him, "You're going back tomorrow, huh?" He looks at his reflection in his beer, saying, "I really am going to go back. I never expected that this day would come." She then hugs him, mentioning he truly did great, and he blushes as the ones around the table are obviously mentioning, "Come on, I didn't know you guys were dating." They then look away in embarrassment, and one of his comrades says, "Do you have any thoughts about staying in this place?" The healer says he really wants to go home as well, come on. And everybody mentions how it is quite a shame because they really are going to miss him. Anyways, she holds his hand, raises it up, saying, "We hope a blessed life awaits you." 3 weeks later, in Seoul, we see Kim Min-soo crossing the street. He calls out to the priestess with an absolute defeated expression, saying, "You were wrong." And although he could save the world, he couldn't save himself. He visits his home to a new owner, and during the 8 months he was gone, his mother had died in a hit-and-run accident, and his father had jumped off of a building, claiming he was unable to protect his family. His death became a newspaper issue, and missing persons reports for Kim Min-soo was stuck at the end of the news story. He looks at his parents' urns, and nothing but tears flow. He was expelled out of school, and even one of his friends says that his mom said I shouldn't be with you anymore, and our MC really is left alone. He gets slapped in the face by somebody, and it is his parents' siblings, saying that it is his fault that his younger sibling died. He grew up with an average family, and it wasn't just money that he did not have. He had no degree, no social life. There was nothing. He wondered if this was just a dream, if it was just an awful nightmare. He saved the world. He saved the lives of countless of people. And he wonders why he was deserted. Somebody bumps into him and gets absolutely angry. It is some big dude thinking he's so tough, and he mocks Kim Min-soo with his girlfriend. Kim Min-soo turns around, wondering why he isn't sad. And he says, "Are you sad because you didn't save the world?" The man gets absolutely furious, wondering what he's spouting to himself, and our MC cries. He pulls Kim Min-soo by his hair, but Kim Min-soo calls for the sword of Durant. His girlfriend begins to laugh, saying, "What, you think you're some sort of anime character?" But in its split second, that big bully was exterminated. She says, "What the hell is going on?" And of course, Kim Min-soo says, "Yes, be sad. It's unfair if I'm the only one who is sad." He says, "I am the hero. I should be the last person who was sad." He wields the sword Durant, and he puts on his armor. He releases a monstrous attack, and entire buildings collapse. It seems like this is literally a supernova, and in that second, everything around him is demolished. And there is a huge crater in the city of Seoul. 3 weeks after the rampage, everybody is trying to leave this province of Gyeonggi. The mom in the car mentions that they're not even moving at all, and grandma is obviously nervous. Her child is crying, holding on to her dear bunny, saying, "Jungsu, where are we going, brother? And why isn't our dad here?" The dad says on a text, "Let's meet in Busan, no matter what, head south." And it seems his dad had things to do. He says mommy's driving, so no more crying, alright? One of the law enforcers yells out to the citizens, mentioning that the warrior is getting closer, and so everybody should leave their vehicle and begin walking, and that's what everybody does. Jungsu's mother tells him to keep a close eye on Dabin, his sister, and the man keeps on repeating the message, but suddenly, he is literally crushed by a tank. Everybody is shocked at what the heck just happened, and the world really was being destroyed by this warrior. Flames erupt right behind them as they are running away, and the little sister, Dabin, says, "Can we please slow down a little?" He chooses to hold her up, since of course he is getting tired. We see Kim Min-soo glaring at them with his red eye, and this is total chaos. He says it's so useless, they're struggling so desperately because they think they'll survive. And he says to himself, "This is disgusting." Bro, Kim Min-soo really just lost the plot. Anyway, he grabs his sword Durant as he jumps towards the people running away. We see Jung-soo get shoved by somebody, and of course Dabin drops her little bunny. They are then on the verge of escaping, but she really wants him to grab the bunny. He says, "Listen, this isn't the time for it," but it was a gift from her father. It seems like their father was in the Navy, and she goes and super happy to receive this gift. He says, "Dabin, listen, I'll go grab it, just stay here, okay? We need to follow mother right after this." He finally manages to reach it, but oh no, Kim Min-soo is here. He then wields his sword up in the sky, and he launches an impending attack that slashes through many people. Buildings come crashing down, cars split in half, it is absolute chaos. And as Jung-soo manages to cough out all of the debris in his lungs, he looks out onto the battlefield, and everybody is gone. He looks for Dabin, and he sees her hand upon a rock. He's trembling, pulling aside the rocks and the debris, and it is an absolute bloodbath. He cries, saying, "My sister, Dabin is..." And of course somebody approaches him. It is Kim Min-soo, and he says that he likes his eyes, and he wonders, "Hey, are you really the warrior?" Kim Min-soo just ignores his question, mentioning that his eyes are similar to his, eyes devoid of hope. Jung-soo yells out, "Are you responsible for this?" He says, "Yes, I am." And Jung-soo lifts up a stick, saying that he will eliminate this fodder, but he gets literally choked up in the sky. He then is struggling to breathe, and Min-soo just says as he wields the sword Durant, "Tell me how you plan to kill me." We see Jung-soo look up in the sky, reminiscing, wondering if he really is going to die like this. He remembers his parents, as well as his little sister holding that bunny, and even his grandma. It seems like this is the end. However, somebody calls out to him, "Warrior! Warrior! Snap out of it!" It seems to be a mage or a witch of some sorts, and our MC is right on top of a summoning circle. And he has become a hero, the very thing that he has despised. A year after the hero's rampage, the entire government fell apart, and just like Kim Min-soo, a lot of the other heroes that went missing during the same time periods returned. And so the 9 heroes conquered the lands, and they split the land amongst each other, except for Min-soo, and this is how the world is today. We are in the Jeju Island, the territory of the Golem Hero, as we see a flying eyeball, and this kind of reminds me of the one in Regular Show. We see people sleeping on the floor of the shelter, and one mentions that she wants to die. The one beside her tells her to stop jinxing them, and she is about to cry, because they fled to the island because they wanted to live, but it was just the same. Somebody busts in, and it is a walking hand, and this is literally Skibbity Toilet. But anyway, he says to everybody, "Get a move on. If you want to survive, get out of here and get to work." We see outside everybody is lined up, and somebody walks up on top of the hands. This seems to be the hero of the golems, Sung Woo Jeon. Anyways, he snaps his fingers, and another huge speaker pops up right in front of him. He then begins to talk, mentioning another day has started, and why does everybody look so dead? Do you guys not want to work? You guys should all be grateful. I could have taken you all out already. He then gets his finger ready or his hand gesture, and then everybody begins to run for some reason. He then flicks it, and oh my gosh, this guy's torso is excavated. Somebody lies on the ground, and it is that person's friend from before, So Min. And So Min goes down, saying, I'm the lone survivor, yet again. The hero of the golems says, you better get a move on before I shoot you again, you stupid sheep. And we see everybody here picking some oranges and putting them in baskets. An old woman approaches So Min, mentioning that you must have had a hard time seeing the events this morning. But go ahead and take a walk. They should fill your quota. She says, go and enjoy your peace. She says, oh, and by the way, watch over your head for those eyeballs. She then walks to the forest and sees the ocean. She says she came to the island because she really likes seeing the ocean. And so she sits down and squats, and she begins to break down because she really jinxed that person from before. Somebody comes out of the shadows, and it seems to be a soldier. He asks her if he has anything to eat. She says that this is all she has right now, and he then begs her, could you bring me more food? There are crew members aboard the ship, and he came out here to gather food, and she's really scared though because a hero might catch them. But he says, we will fight them until our last dying breath. She looks up in the sky and wonders that if she runs fast enough, that thing might not be able to see her. And so that's exactly what she does. She remembers her friend who died, and she runs back, but it seems like the soldier isn't there. It is the hero of the golem waiting, and we see 3 of those soldiers in the hands of those iron or those stone fists. She is caught as well, and she says, how did you find me? That eyeball didn't observe this area yet. He says, oh, those eyeballs? Well, fine. Invisibility mode release, and there are thousands upon thousands in the sky. He then begins to laugh, mentioning, it really is more fun this way, huh? You should blame your weakness. It really isn't fair. Just become a hero if you don't like it. He then crushes her even more, and she cries, saying that there's no way I'm going to die without being able to do a thing. She then cries out for help, and she says, please, somebody fight for me. The stars shine, and something comes at the speed of light. It crashes right beside her, and somebody with a spear stands there menacingly. The hero of the golem wonders what the heck is going on, and So Min says, is that a hero? The hero looks around wondering what's happening, and he demands an explanation from the girl. The hero of the golem says, hey, why the heck did you infiltrate my region? The girl wonders, wait a second, he isn't part of the Sword Hero's party, is he? She then yells out and starts yapping about the entire situation, explaining that he killed the soldiers and he took over Jeju Island. The hero of the golem says, why are you having a casual conversation right in front of me? And the hero says, was everything the woman said just now true? The hero of the golem says, yeah, so what if it is? He says, just with one breath, die. He then points a spear towards him, and the hero of the golem seems kind of scared. A bunch of hands come up above him, as well as lasers from the eyes of stone. They then come towards the hero, but he slashes them all apart, and he slices off the arms of the hero of the golem. He says, this piece of trash. He then kicks him and steps on top of him, saying, this is the end for you. Of course, So Min wonders, this guy really just dominated the golem hero who destroyed an entire naval fleet. He says, when you spoke of the sword hero, were you talking about the one in white armor? He says, I don't know what you're talking about. He slices off his leg, saying, I'm taking off one of your limbs for each lie you say. He says, fine, yes, it is true, it's him. It seems the man with the spear is not going to spare him at all, but a bunch of hands begin to come towards him and the girl. We see all the hands collapse on top of the hero, and it seems like the hero of the golems is saved, as he is in the palms of one of his golems. He remembers in the past, when of course he was in his own hero world as well, and he wondered what he did all of this for. He went back to his father, and his father told him to leave, and he's not welcomed anymore. He couldn't even get housing, and it seems like he wanted to work at a bar, but he was rejected. His life was finally ruined. He says, it's finally my world. I don't want to die. But all of those hands were sliced again by the hero. He says, you can't run away. Every hero deserves to die. He uses the praying flower, which is an arrangement of all of the golem hands and an eye in the center, about to blast a monstrous attack. But then the hero of the spear uses electricity, the lightning strike of doom. He launches it towards the eye, and just like that, it breaks the formation, and the hero of the golem is now dead. We then transition to the world that the hero of the golems was from, and we see all of his party members praying for the sake of the hero. It seems they made a sculpture of him, and they pray that he is happy. And it seems like that cannot be the case, as we see him on the ground at the gates of death. Now that the hero of the golems is dead, all of his golem statues and such have started to fade away. This is the first time ever that this island has seen peace since the rampage, and everybody leaves from the shelters and from their hideouts, and they're all hugging and celebrating because they have now been freed. Somebody's watching from the forest, and it is the spear hero. He remembers his family, all smiley and cheerful, and now they're all gone. He says to have a place to go back to. I truly envy them. The girl from earlier sneaks up on him, wondering why he doesn't want to go there and claim his merit. She says a hero who killed a hero has no merit. I don't care about being praised by them anyways. She says he really is kind. And you know what? You wouldn't think about other people's feelings if you weren't. He says think what you want. Anyways, she asks him if he plans to eliminate all the heroes. And he says yes, white armor. I'm going to eliminate everybody who's working with the sword hero. She asks if it's for revenge. And he says, is there any other reason? She then proclaims out loudly, I really want to help you, please, let me get my revenge as well. He wonders if she's insane. Obviously she has no powers. She explains that she knows where every single hero is, and she saw everything on her way to Jeju. She mentions, I also know what kind of abilities they have, so I definitely am useful. She says if you want transportation, you have to communicate with regular people, and I'll do that for you. I'll be your guide, and she really seems enthusiastic. He then asks her for a reason, to which he explains, I can at least promise your life if you stay here. She says, the truth is I have no power. She brings out a photo of her and her parents. She says, I want revenge, because when everything was happening, I could do nothing. And just like that, the two of them had started a new contract. He says, if you don't mind getting left alone or used, then follow me. And they go on their journey. We then see them in this abandoned city, and it seems like he is sharpening his spear. She explained, a nearby hero who's a big pain is here. But anyways, somebody less annoying is way far away. Who do you pick to go after next? He says the hero that'll die the quickest. She said, fine, I knew you'd pick that. She explains the next opponent is a sea dragon hero, and bro, this is literally the Leviathan. She says that this person's annoying because she uses the ocean as part of her ability, obviously, and she says that the sea dragon is comparable to a nuclear bomb. They also eliminated refugees on their way to Jeju Island, and we find out that that was a boat that her mom was on. She starts to cry and tear up a bit, and he says, listen, don't state her crimes as if they're achievements. Our opponent is a murderer. Anyway, she gets back up, explaining, after they reobtained the boats from the golem hero that stole them, the surviving marines started to recover, and this is a good thing. We see the captain as well as the crew, and he then says, for saving our fallen comrades, we will make sure that you get to the sea dragon hero. We are in the southern part of the sea as an actual tornado appears in the ocean. Here lies a Leviathan or the sea dragon hero. The sea dragon hero says, don't worry, there's no way they're going to reach the land. We see one of the crewmates, and he is done burying his rest of his comrades. He says, Captain, tell me, is this the right decision? He says, tell me, why do I have to return to that hell with my own 2 feet? And the captain says calmly, listen, the fact that he killed the golem hero also means he plans to kill all of the other heroes. Isn't that enough reason? More of 30 of my men whom I treated as if they were my sons died. If I were to meet them after I die, I want to speak with confidence. He then looks back at the crewmate, saying, are you willing to walk into hell with me? And this is now one after they departed. We see the girl as she's drawing out what the monster looks like, and it's not exactly the best drawing. She says that the girl also has a dragon with her, and so he wonders if they can act individually. She mentions yes. However, well, it's not really the case usually, as she's always on top of the dragon. She says that the dragon is brawn, and she seems to be the brains. He wonders about their attack patterns. She says that the dragon usually breathes fire or knocks over the ship with its body, and the girl blocks the attacks coming their way. She explains, if I had to think about this, but they rush outside as something happened. Everybody is told to get into position because it seems like the monster is getting closer. Brace for impact because there are a lot of fish coming towards them. They then shoot all their guns, and all these fishes are dead. Of course, Solman says, wait, fish, is that it? She got scared for nothing, but our boy knows what's coming. The real deal. A whirlpool in the ocean begins to start, and something comes out. It is the dragon, and this is Swashin, the sea dragon hero, and she is very interested to fight the one who defeated the golem hero. She says, let me blow up this entire boat. The captain sees the attack coming, telling him to dodge it, but the spear hero tells them to lower the anchor. He wonders what he's saying, but the captain tells him to follow the decision. They then lower the anchors, and the sea dragon hero is quite disappointed. She then launches the attack, and it is about to absolutely wreck this thing, but then he calls for something. Weapon exchange, shield spear, Ansel. It is emitting crimson red and seems to be sort of a crucifix, and he says if you don't want to die, get down right now. It manages to block the attack, and there is a huge explosion that comes forth. The crewmate says, this guy can't fight back because he's currently protecting us, and he then tells the captain to give us the distraction orders. He makes an announcement to the ship. All crew members, prepare for battle. They then get all of their artillery ready, and they open fire towards the dragon. It seems literal missiles are coming towards it, but she uses Espita to Tiada, and it seems like this is a shield of Atlas that blocks all their attacks. The pilot of the ship is very discouraged, but the captain says don't worry, we already knew that they would be useless. However, use up all the ammunition, use all operable firearms. The spear hero says they're not completely useless. He explains that the firepower of the dragon went down because she has to defend against the attacks, and if we deplete her mana, they might have a chance of surviving. He begins to push forward, and she really admires his strength. And she really wonders how he noticed that Bless's firepower has weakened. She then throws up her weapon in the air, saying she just needs to get rid of any reason to use a magical barrier. She uses Dori Atiada, the Spear of Atlas once again, and she tosses it towards the ammunition, and it literally cuts a missile in half, and it is headed for the ship. She controls it, and it goes past the shield. He says it changes directions. That's too overpowered. She breaks one of the guns on the ship and pierces a hole right through the pilot of the ship. She pierces many holes through the ship, and it seems like this is a massacre. The spear starts to make its way towards the hero, and she says, I see. This is the end, hero with no name. This is the end. But someone stops the spear. It is that crewmate from before. He says, what do you think we are? We are an impenetrable fortress. And it seems like this is the price he paid to stop it from getting to the spear hero. He smiles as he looks back, saying, please make good use of it. It seems that he delivered the spear to him. He applies his own element of glaciation, and this was a plan all along. We see 5 crewmates here in a very wide space, and oh my gosh, that crewmate joins them, saying he's sorry he's late, and they all hug each other as they've been united. We get a flashback to Atlas, the world of sea dragons, and it seems like this is a hero when she just got transported. Somebody welcomes her, and this is the king. He explains, you must know the responsibilities you bear going forward. She really is not accustomed to the idea. However, he gives her his trident, and it is quite heavy. He looks directly at her soul. He says, I will entrust my life in your hands. He then kneels, saying, I am your humble servant, hero of the sea dragons. Her MC is now wielding the trident, and the sea dragon gets furious. He says, sure, I'll return it after it goes right through your skull. He says, Ansel, deactivate, and the shield is broken. He uses the frozen spear technique called Glacial Path, and he tosses it, and it is going at lightning speed. She says, wait a second, he's freezing up, why isn't he doing anything? She explains, stop using Bless, the ability, and they must fortify their defenses. She then uses everything she has, using Gigantier, Espita to Tiada, the Grand Shield of Atlas. It seems to be so many layers, like 6 or 7 layers, and this is a 5-tier magical defense that even the Pterodactyl demon could not break. Our MC passes right through the first shield, and it shatters from the 4th one to the 3rd one, and she says this is quite impossible. It finally breaches to the final one, but it doesn't manage to break. And however, he disappears from the ship, and our MC has gotten closer. He made a path for himself as it froze the water below, and he uses the ability Proverbs, which is a book in the Bible, and oh my gosh, he slices the Leviathan, and even she gets sliced up. She says before her body literally splits in half, I love you. And just like that, that is the end. We find out that they defeated the Demon King in their world, another flashback, and the dude transforms back into his human form. He explains we can finally change our predestined ending, and then he kisses her while she is in his arms. She says, I'm glad I'll be able to return, but I don't want to separate from you. However, he says something absolutely crazy which shocks her, that he will follow her. Anyways, everybody else says, Your Majesty, please reconsider, it could be a danger. He says the next heir has been decided. Let me spend my life next to her, fulfilling her duties, or my duties, as a partner. He then bows down. Oh my gosh, he kneels down and gives her a ring, and so they get married. However, we go back to Earth, and it was hard on his body as we see him throwing up. He loses some teeth, and it gets hard for him to maintain human form. And one day, when she gets back to her house, we see some of his fins get on him and even his scales, and she hugs him nonetheless. He says, I'm so sorry. She says, come on, we can build a small house by the shore or something. We are now in the southern sea of port of Yoso, and he is covered by this cloak. He is almost about to transform, and he says, I'm sorry, but I can't hold it anymore. And boom, just like that, the Leviathan appears. We see all of these ships going after them, but she says with a dead look, since you fought to defend me in this world, it's my time to protect you. And just like that, that's when the massacre began. And this is the end for both of them. And what a tragic story. We see the sword hero sitting by the hero of Return's sort of shrine, I guess, and the hero of Return walks up to him. He says that the hero of Golem and the hero of Sea Dragons died at the hands of the new hero. Here are some images of him. He explains that this also means the eternal sadness you've created in the country is about to end. They found some hope. The sword hero then gets a sword, and of course, he's ready to take action. We see a lot of spears in glass cases, and we find out that the first spear, Burbash, has returned, and the fifth spear, Ansel, has disappeared. If the hero has spawned, it has begun, the woman says. The revenge that the spear hero wanted. She explains, come on, it's time to repay our debts. And she mentions that in the first place, the hero that saved them had no interest in saving their world. However, he started training, and she goes up to him, explaining that they can proceed to the next stage. He brushes her off, saying it's not over till it's over. I'm too weak. I cannot defeat that guy. He then kills all these demons and he's going on an absolute mayhem. Even one of the party members tells him to stop. He just keeps on going. Slices one up and it's a rampage, guys. He gets hit in the head, but then he remembers the image of the sword hero and he gets furious as he slashes right through all of the ogres. He says, die, die, die. And he's going on an absolute rampage as he's covered in their blood. And there's actually a really cool panel. Anyway, he remembers his sister, or he sees his sister saying to save him, and also his mother as well, and his grandma, who is, oh my gosh, that's just so sad. He says instead of him acting like a hero, he acted like a sinner or a revenge spirit. As he sits here reminiscing and thinking about his life, his entire body is covered in scars. And she asks him, aren't you in pain? Why do you keep fighting? She says, don't you have a family to return to? He says, I have no family. They're all dead. She says, then why don't you just stay here? And he just tells her the truth. I need abilities that will overpower the sword hero and tear him limb from limb. Yes, that's what I would do. I'll torture him. I'll kill him as slowly and painfully as possible. And yeah, this guy's definitely lost it. The spear hero kills the demon king of his world, and the demon king says that this man truly is powerful. However, he gets a mana potion and breaks it on top of the Demon King. And the Demon King has been resurrected. He says, do you wish to become the Demon King as well? And the spear hero says, I need to get stronger. Fight me again. And oh my gosh, hundreds if not thousands of fights later, he keeps on reviving him. And then the mage just hugs him, saying, please, we'll help you with your revenge. Please remain a human. And he definitely is losing his mind. We see this is where they crafted the spears. All the blacksmiths are going crazy. And she wonders to herself, once you are complete with your revenge, I really hope you don't turn into a monster. Back to the present, and the spear hero begins to walk forward. He gets a vision of the sword hero and he just stabs it, saying, I don't need to be a savior. I just need to be the one that takes you out. He then begins to walk towards the ship on the ice path and he drops both spears on the ground. The girl thinks to herself, maybe he really is capable of taking out that man. Anyways, he asks if there are any survivors, to which she explains, everyone is dead. She wonders what they should do, and she wonders if there's an ability that could help us reach the shore. He then asks her, do you really think I'm a Doraemon or something? Anyway, I can't believe this. You seem like you were competent, so I thought I'd brought you along. And he just faces away from her, explaining that she needs to take a break. And he also tells her that, listen, I spent all of my energy during the battle, so I have to recover as well. She really wishes that she could do more. She is in the ship looking for something, and she says, I'm not even tired yet, I got this. She's looking for the ship's manual to maybe try and make it work. However, she notices something, It seems like somebody is awake, and it's him, obviously, and he's carrying the bodies of the dead, and he is burying them all on the ship. His father was also in the Navy, and he most likely was slain by the likes of those heroes. And he says, I'm sorry I wasn't able to send you back to your family, and having to send you off like this really pains me, as he cries. He then bids them farewell, and the girl says amen, and they pay their respects. We see a helicopter flying over them. This is the team leader of the Heroes Division for Reconstruction, Choi Jung-wook. He says, I see the hero of Revolt and a woman. Commence the operation. Secure the hero of Revolt. The helicopter lowers, and he wonders if she radioed them in. She says, I don't know who they are exactly, and he then takes an attack stance. The ladder then drops, and he says that they're from the Reconstruction government, and he wonders if she's heard anything like that. We find out that they are pretty much the revolution, and he says, I guess it would make sense to come and try and recruit me. Let's go up there and see what's happening. He then gets on the helicopter, telling them to take their seats. The spear hero says, do you really think a gun would work on me? Because of course, he says, I could wipe this helicopter in an instant. The girl is wondering, wait, what about me? The team leader rips off his vest, and there is a bomb there. And he says, well played, well played. Anyways, he gets super pissed, but she tells him to calm down. And he explains, you better shut up and do what I say. These guys seem kind of mean for some reason. He wonders where they are going. And he says that we'll be the ones doing the talking. She tries to reason with them, but they point their guns towards her. He says, listen hero, you are being transported, not carpooling. And so, tie them up. We then see an abandoned city, and it's absolutely in ruin, and it lands on the top of a building. They are blindfolded and tied as well. And of course, seems to be a good amount of people that are in the resistance. There is a drone in the sky, and somebody says, I found you, you little rats. And it seems like Megatron is about to go ahead and wreck these guys. The spear hero says it would only take him 1 second to uncuff himself. However, judging by the sound area, the nearby soldiers were to show up, and there would be around 4 to 5 of them. He says this really is quite annoying. He wonders if he should escape, but they point his gun towards him. The girl tells him to hold on, and they're just scared. And come on, we have common enemies, so please, make us trust you. They then put their guns down as our boy begins to walk forward. They're now in an interrogation room, and the team leader says, I know you're not a hero, little girl, so tell me, what type of hero is a hero of revolt, and why are you accompanying him? She explains that he's in a class of his own, and he wonders what she means by that. He says he has so much hatred towards a hero of sword, and also that seems to be his only objective, to eliminate him and his comrades. The team leader wonders, the timeline's adding up as he lights up a cigarette. He says, let's say that's his objective. Why did he decide to keep you around? Well, I told him I'd tag along because he needed a guide, and that's pretty much it. He then says that makes sense, and she says, what, really? It does. Anyway, he says, you lack judgment abilities, don't you? We will not be releasing the hero. The only way we're going to do that is if he is under our complete control. And he then asks her, do you know anything about him? Do you even know if he's strong enough to defeat the hero of the sword? And what does he plan to do after that? And that is true. These are all valid points. He explains we don't have the leisure to start all over again. And yeah, I can't even imagine having a resistance in this type of scenario with people like superheroes. 3 days later, and they aren't feeding him, and he wonders that this might be their tactic. He hears gunshots, and the door opens, and his handcuffs are removed. It is a girl, and it is a hero behind her. He says, you're the hero who just returned, aren't you? And what the heck is going on, bro? The hero introduces himself as a hero of Iron Arm, and he is there to rescue him. Of course, the girl then explains that the Reconstruction government only planned to use him from the beginning, and so they only wanted to kill us as well. He then smiles and laughs, and this guy seems like All Might. He says, well, even before the world ended, they seemed so untrustworthy, and the girl explains that her judgment was wrong. He breaks it himself, and he then grabs a spear, saying enough with this crap, cut it all out. He then chokes the girl, saying, listen, I never doubted the fact that you had the same objective as I did. I trusted you, but this is a hero. The hero of Iron Arm says, come on, we were merely born at the wrong time. Not all heroes are bad. He tells him to shut up, shut that disgusting mouth. He points his spear towards him, and he explains, go away and disappear before you're swept in your death. But somebody walks in, it's a team leader, and he says, fine, you pass. We find out 3 days ago they came up with this scheme to see if he was really loyal to eliminating every single hero, and that's what happened. Anyway, he says, what would have happened if I willingly accepted this piece of crap? And obviously, he would have died there, because there were bombs under the desk, there were people below him ready to shoot, and more bombs under the floor, and that's absolutely insane. Anyways, in exchange for the trust you have shown us today, we will try and support you in every way possible from this moment forward. They then arrive to the basement, the secret shelter, B12. She's looking out of the window, wondering, really? A whole city was underground this entire time? She wonders if there's also like a robot, and it finds out it was just a rumor, but it was true. But it got destroyed by the sword hero. Anyways, he said that she was just joking. Nonetheless, the team leader explains that there are roughly 50,000 people in this small city, and they are really happy that a hero appeared to kill all those other heroes. He is their beacon of hope, and he should remember that. We see a little cute girl, and she goes up to him to give him some flowers. He remembers him and his little sister, and he wonders, do I really have anything left to protect? Or maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I need to do. They then begin to walk throughout the city, and they finally arrive at where he's going to be staying. He tosses him his key, and the spear hero asks, and tells him actually, we don't plan on staying long. We're going to leave as soon as you have some food and water. Anyways, she says, come on, they could be of use, think about it. I know you don't want to involve innocent people, but take your time to think tonight. The girl gets done taking a shower, and she sees a spear hero aura farming on the balcony, sitting amidst the railings. She says, do you like yellow peaches? He says, sugar helps your brain circulate faster. It's whatever. She says, come on, you messed up my face, tell me. He says, my name is Park Jung-soo. She says, my name is So-min, Jung So-min. It's not Khaki Girl, but that's my actual name. They then shake hands, and that night, they share their feelings for the first and last time. We are in the operation room, and they're monitoring everything, making sure everything's all right. The team leader says, this guy's completely on our side. And the man replies, yeah, I don't hear anything out of the ordinary with the conversation with the girl. And we find out that that makes 3 total heroes that they have recruited. They need to eliminate 7, and it is 3 versus 7, so they are in a predicament. The secretary begins to cry, thinking about how they could possibly go back to their normal lives, and everybody's so happy. Something happens and the team leader rushes out to see, and it seems like there is a hole in the ceiling. He says, darn it, and all of the other heroes come crashing in. The hero of the sword is there as well, and a lot of his comrades. This is a hero of vampire, this is a hero of faith, the hero of magic, the hero of iron arm, and the hero of return, and finally, the hero of martial arts, as well as a hero of reformation. The hero of return tells the hero of sword, do you really have to ask what we're gonna do? Come on, make everybody suffer. We see the hero of reformation literally get a bunch of missiles on her, and she launches all of them towards the shelters, and there is no safety. Of course, the team leader says this is so bad. Intercept and activate all the turret systems in the city, and everybody's frozen because the hero of faith has actually taken over their minds. He then calls onto the mountainside Quan Bat, Brown Crow, to listen up, but he's getting literally pulled by these guys. It seems all of them have been wiped out by the hero of Iron Arm, and this guy just slaughtered everybody. They were all annihilated. The hero of return eliminates the Quan Bat group as well, and this is complete mayhem. The Brown Crow squad is eliminated by the hero of vampires, and 13,700 people were dead 3 minutes after they arrived. A spear heads towards the sword hero, but the hero of martial arts blocks it with his defense system. The spear hero is absolutely pissed, and this is a look of somebody who's ready for revenge. The sword hero just glares at him, wondering if he's the one who broke the cycle of sorrow. And he says that this was a person who killed his family right before his eyes. He also took his normal life away from him, and this is the one who destroyed the world as it is. He wonders what he should do right now as he's shivering and frozen. He clenches his fists and grits his teeth, and he says to himself, this is where it ends. He calls for all the shields, the shield spear, Ansel, the ground spear, Yo Yui, the holy spear, Paolo, the demon spear, Daryl, the flame spear, Ignite, and the ice spear, Vastness, the poison spear, Scola, the savage spear, Baton, the fragment spear, Artier, and the fragment spear, Chashtir. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, our MC is literally kitted up. The sword hero is unimpressed, but he then uses the holy demon's attack system, Void Unity, and there is an entire Kamehameha sort of like attack. The sword hero is unaffected, but it seems like the hero of faith was literally wrecked, but she then recovers her body. He tosses a spear at the sword hero, and it is a poison spear. The sword hero begins to bleed blood, and he teleports right in front of the sword hero, and the sword hero looks at his gaze, and he notices that the spear hero had some hope in his eyes, and that absolutely made him angry. He calls on the Sword of Durant and uses Eclipse mode and slices right through one of his spears. A huge explosion occurs, and both of them are down for the count. Both are remembering their lives on Earth, and he says, I'll eliminate him no matter what. It seems like our boy the Spear Hero is not giving up. The Spear Hero transforms, and this guy looks absolutely deadly, and of course the Sword Hero just looks like a normal knight. They're about to go head to head for the final clash, and this is about to get wild. They both launch at each other, and they both manage to dodge each other's attacks. Spear Hero goes for a huge hit right on the front, and the Sword of Durant manages to block it. Everybody is just gazing at this battle, and they really are wondering if this could be the end. Somebody says, the hero who kills are the heroes. This guy is really fighting off sorrow all by himself. One of the person watching the live stream says, he can really pull this off. The team leader is still alive, and he says our last resort is fighting the battle of a lifetime against the hero of the sword. He says, here with a great sacrifice, let's end this crazy world. There's a huge blob demon sort of thing, and he says, come on, let's finish this now. We see the hero of Iron Arm absolutely wreck this person. He looks off far into the distance, trying to help the sword hero, but he gets exploded from behind. It is one of the dudes, and he's literally shooting this solely. And the hero of Vampire says, what a strange sight. He wonders if the sword hero is actually struggling. But before he can go and help, a bunch of civilians start hurling rocks at him, and he gets pissed. The hero of Return has his own fight as well, but it seems like he's about to get choked out. The same is with the hero of Reformation, and we see the team leader literally being held up by this guy, and this team leader really is a courageous person. Back to the fight, the Spear Hero takes a huge blow to the body, and he then applies his element of Great Earth and uses the earth-shattering spear. The Sword of Durant nullifies the attack, but it seems like it was a trap, and something's happening to the ground. It turns to quicksand. He then uses his Dragon Spear, and he uses the ability Dragon Spirit, and he launches it towards the Sword Hero. And this is definitely going to be a hard one to dodge, because he also uses electricity, ice, earth, flame, and atmosphere for the power explosion effects. The Sword Hero says, you truly are strong, but that's all you are. He uses Daybreak mode again to fight this attack, and it seems like it works, and the Spear Hero loses his left arm. He falls to the ground, and the Sword Hero explains that the reason why you lost was because your sorrow was too shallow. Our MC stops the bleeding from his left arm, and he says, my sorrow is shallow, the death of my family, the end of the world, all of that is shallow, a murderer like you wouldn't get it. He then activates his ability, and everybody is shocked. They all feel the energy, and we see the Spear Hero just launch towards the Sword Hero despite losing an arm. He then gathers all of his power on his fist, but he misses, and the Sword Hero just hits him in the face. Some of his mask is broken, and he says it again, your sorrow is shallow. Another punch to the chest, and he is getting absolutely demolished. We see him in absolute ruin here on the verge of death, and he says, what did these people ever do wrong to you? He then grabs him by the head, and he says, you are all happier than me. You all eliminated me. None of you waited for me or tried to embrace me. We see a bullet go by and it almost hits the Sword Hero. It is the girl from before, saying that person is our last hope. She slides down into the crater, and of course, the Sword Hero says, your hope is a useless hope. Don't you understand? She says, one day I have faith that you will be defeated and everybody with you. And we see the team leader, and he is still alive, but he lost his entire arm. And he falls to his knees, saying, connect me to all the speakers in the shelter. I have something to say. He announces, dear survivors, everybody able-bodied, every single person here, the hero of revolt, the idiot that was holding the spear is our last ounce of hope. The army is gone, and everybody is slowly losing the will to fight. He says, I am deeply sorry, but please make sure that that Spear Hero gets one more chance to fight off these monsters. That's the best I can do right now. And he lights his cigarette in his last moments, and this really does remind me of Zombie Man from One Punch Man. Please protect him. I entrust you all to his care. And he gets a flashback to when there was another hero who also defended him. He then blows up, and an entire building begins to collapse on the Sword Hero. The Hero of Faith is quite annoyed, saying, come on, servants of faith, prove your loyalty. They then rip off their arms, and then it becomes some sort of magical arm that protects the building from falling on the Sword Hero. But somebody is protecting the girl with the gun. It is the hero of magic. And she says, you know how much my blood boiled trying to listen to your orders? She uses sugar dust stream. She launches a particle-centered attack towards the sword hero and it's filled with candy. And it seems like this was one of the heroes that was working with the government. Flashback, we see a girl on the phone, and I'm assuming that this is the hero of magic. She is on her way back home, and she even got a present for her little sister. Seems like her mom already got a cake, so she might have to return it. She asks for the price, and it's 30,000 won, which is around $20, but she notices something. It is a fridge that falls on her. And just like that, the world she'd returned to after worrying about her family was burning down because of that great evil. She had two choices. Either one, fight for their lives, as you see the group right here, or two, join the crazies, as you see the other people here. And there even is another hero. It seems like he's like Beelzebub or some sort of person with fly abilities. She had no courage to join either, and so she ran away from both of the choices. We see her at a shelter giving her mom food and drink, but her mom doesn't want to eat, and she tells her, nope, you're gonna eat this right now. A bunch of soldiers then approach her, wondering if that is Ma Ye Rin, and she wonders what this is about. She says, come on, I just cut in line, is that it? But we see the team leader here saying the military police don't get involved unless there was a hero among the refugees. He says, you're 20 years old, in grade 12 you went missing for a year, am I correct? She says, so what if I went missing? Come on, are they automatically heroes if they go missing? Explains that 10 days ago, due to the United Forces misfire, the refugees in the area were going to be butchered. However, there was something that disengaged the explosives. She says, come on, it must be a coincidence. He then points a gun at her and shoots, and of course she blocks it after she transforms. You're probably going to ask why I'm not fighting them, she says. And it's because there's a clear difference in strength of the heroes, and yeah, the sword hero is definitely overpowered. She says a hero gets slightly stronger depending on the demon king they defeat, and so the demon king's strength determines the level of the strength of the hero, and compared to hers, which was just like a candy monster, the sword hero went up against a literal cosmic being giant thing, and yeah, that's absolutely insane. She says that's why she doesn't want to join in the fight, considering all the heroes have died as well that went up against him. Anyways, he says, let me rephrase this. You choose to run away? You don't care if this world is destroyed? She says, you know, that's not true. It's just that my mother is ill and my sister cries every night because she's not with her friends. I don't want to die either. I just don't know who's going to protect my family. He then says nonchalantly, join Minsu's force as a sword hero. They don't know exactly when you went missing, and you can play it off like you just returned and exploded. He said, here's an unimportant military base. We already evacuated everybody. In exchange for this, I will evacuate your family to international waters. We will also have guards protect them. She then says, even if I do this, we could not eliminate the sword hero. I don't have to think I have to remind you, but he says, listen, I'm asking you to do something rash. I'm only asking you to be our hidden card until we find a method to destroy the sword hero. You'll be our trump card until that method comes, and that method was the spear hero. She says, he trusted me the entire time, even at his own dying moment. I know it's shameless to talk about courage when I've been running away this entire time, but still, I'm also a hero. And she launches her attack, and let's go, our boy, spear hero, has an ally now. He stabbed 117,689 times. He sliced 57,991 times, fainted 297 times, and the amount of times he almost died was 13 times. And look at his back and all his scars. This is definitely telling of it. He has 84 scars as well, and the number of enemies struck down is 1,744. He overcame these trials day by day for his dead family. But he says, what is the purpose? I couldn't even protect him. I can't even take my revenge. The legendary spear, the demon king's power, I used everything I could in this fight, but I couldn't defeat him. And so he despaired, countless of times, in his head. He wounded Kim Min-soo, the sword hero, making him bleed a few drops and angering him, but that's it. He's crying, saying he doesn't want to lose his second life to him again. And he thinks of everybody who helped him, even that little girl who gave him flowers, and he cries. We see he bites somebody's fingers, and it is the girl from before. And we see the magic girl rush over towards him and literally grab him, and it seems like the girl is left there. The magic girl says, you're so heavy, put pressure on your wounds, and don't lose consciousness. We see the Mega, or the hero of Reformation, get some surface-to-air missiles ready, and he locks on to the target. However, it seems like the magic girl is doing a good job avoiding everything. Oh my gosh, she also has a little cat plushie that blocks him as well. The other heroes begin to also go after him too, but it seems like somebody jumps out of the window. It is a soldier. He smiles as he sees a spear hero, saying, "You must live," and he sacrifices himself as there is an explosion. We see some more people grab onto the martial arts hero, and they have grenades in their hands as well, saying, "You're coming with us to hell." So many explosions, and even the heroes could not understand why they were throwing their lives away. We see a man about to ram his bus into the iron arm hero. He says, "Stop getting in my way," and of course he splits that thing in half. We see another one coming, and of course these guys are getting annoyed. We see a lot of C4s come up from above him, and this guy detonates them with a smile, saying, "You must survive, spear hero, by all means." And so everybody started sacrificing themselves to open up an escape route for the spear hero as well as the magic hero. We see the hero of vampires get his arrow ready to launch it towards the magic hero and manages to actually hit them, and she notices more coming. However, there's somebody that's helping her direct the path. The vampire hero is getting kind of pissed off now. He says there really are still surviving members of the government. We are in the underground department platform of floor B12, and people are going up the elevator to escape. However, we find out that they're guiding the magic hero here now, and this woman has an announcement to make. She says this elevator is the last one they are able to operate. Everybody is in a fury, and there is an outroar saying, "How could you do this?" She says she'll remain here and die because they need to let the hero escape. She says that our deaths could be the possibility of a new beginning rather than an ending. She remembers a team leader, and she cries, and we look at these kids right here with their parents. They need to pave a way for the future of humanity, so she begs of them to sacrifice their lives to fight with them. And so somebody steps off the elevator and gives his spot to one of the kids. A lot more people step out the elevator, and they are ready to sacrifice their lives for a better future. And this is true courage. They're hiding behind these roadblocks, and it seems like they have finally arrived, and the magic girl is looking at all of them, and she is quite surprised, and she also cries. She then goes up of the elevator, and there are 3,000 people in the shelter left, and we see them here fighting the three heroes, giving up their lives in hopes that a future of greatness awaits. We see a desert island in Indonesia, and there is a splash in the water. The magic girl finally managed to bring him there, and he is on the verge of death. 50,000 lives were sacrificed for a single person. Somebody walks up, and it seems like a very unique person, and she says she's glad he made it. We are now at the White House, and somebody is explaining that at 1:47 p.m., they lost all communication with the restored government of Korea, pretty much showing that they were attacked. The president wondered if the heroes did this, and there is a camera footage of it, and it seems like it was them. He says all 8 of them were there. If that many warriors were present, no wonder it would have taken them no time to wipe out the shelter. It means that they used everything at their disposal to keep it hidden, and of course to last as long as they did. They then explain a new warrior appeared and faced off against a sword warrior, and we see the footage here being played, and he says watch for yourselves. They're absolutely in shock, wondering if this is actually a footage that hasn't been AI or photoshopped. He says yes, this is absolutely authentic, and the president wonders where that warrior is now. He says currently he is in an island, and we see him getting carried by this, I don't even know what type of hero this is, but it seems like some sort of forest hero. She then lies him down on the ground and grabs a seed from the floor, and we then see something construct. It seems like it's holding him up, and they got some new beds to sleep on, and they must be absolutely exhausted. She then begins to use her healing powers, and he wonders why she is saving him. Spear Hero explains, "I lost to the sword warrior. I couldn't keep anyone safe," and his eyes are starting to lose hope. He remembers a team leader, the girl, and also the people who gave up their lives. However, she slaps him, saying, "Don't say that. It's not that you failed to keep those people safe. It's that those people were the ones who kept you safe." And what a powerful message. He is super sad, and she is as well, as she remembers the different heroes and people who kept her alive too. We are now back in the White House, and the man says they are in somewhere in Indonesia. The president wonders what they should do in the meantime, and the 4-star general says that there are over 5 million Korean refugees in the United States. Mainstream media will obviously showcase this, and this might incite panic among the public. And news of an entire country's collapse will cause other nations to be very fearful as well. He says, "Mr. President, we should launch a preemptive strike," and oh my gosh. He's saying that the Republic of Korea has fallen and there probably isn't any innocent life left there. And so, with a very, very dark tone, he says we should deploy our weapon of last resort while the warriors are all in there. And this is the newest nuclear weapon, the Fist of the Deities. We see the people in space, the astronauts, and we find out that the target is 1085-27695. This is Korea, and the president has given them the order to fire. We are back in the shelter, and it seems like somebody's alive, and he has an M4 with him. He points it towards a sword hero, and the sword hero says, there really was a survivor here. He says, get out of here and let everybody know that spear hero trash is dead. But then he smiles, and he says, you're afraid, aren't you? He then points at him, and this guy's actually courageous, explaining you're afraid that the warrior who fought and survived is going to come back and challenge you, and you're afraid that people will continue to have hope. He smiles and says, you're not some sort of deity, you're just like the rest of us, and his head is decapitated in that moment. He then gets stabbed again, and the hero of return says, I'm sorry to interrupt the scene, but we're done with the shelter, let's leave. All the other warriors are waiting for him, and the hero of faith says, you can let out as much anger as you want to, sword warrior. Don't even worry about us. He then walks towards them, saying, you guys don't understand me. You're just as ignorant as they are. The hero of return just asks, what's the next steps? What are we going to do next? He says we need to go after the spear warrior, because too many people have their hopes on him. And so the hero of return says, even if it takes us beyond South Korea, would we be able to be in the entire world's adversary? We are now back to the President of America, and he says, the government of South Korea, a longtime ally, has been destroyed by a group of warriors. In consideration with our friendship and to protect the rest of the world, and to prevent the additional deployments of troops, we have decided to use what we've kept hidden for over half a century, the nuclear missile. And oh my gosh, no, the hero of reformation is watching what's going on. The hero of return mentions that at least they're making an effort. He wonders what they should do, and there actually are missiles headed their way already. The martial arts hero says if we shoot them down, we'll be exposed to radiation. And the hero of vampires says, hey, hero of reformation, aren't you in control of the South Korean airspace? He says, or she says, yeah, but I'm not, of course, in control of what's happening in the satellites. Anyways, the hero of the Iron Arm says we'll leave it to you, Resurrection Warrior. And it seems the hero of return is going to reset to go back in time. And what an overpowered ability. He then asks the question to the sword hero, are you actually ready to face off against the entire world? And the sword hero says, without a second thought, they align themselves with those who oppose us. They're in the way. And so the hero of return explains, when I come back, we're going to destroy this world. There is 1:20 left, and the hero of faith just sits down and wants to find out what it's like when she's struck by a nuclear bomb. They all sit down here as well, and the missiles enter the center. Oh my gosh, it is absolute mayhem, but the hero of return says something to the sword hero. Since you remember any of this, I'll say this. I'm the one who killed your parents, and his entire skin and flesh is ripped off. And of course, the sword hero Min-soo is like, wait, what did you just say? And there is explosions and everything is crumbling. And what the hell just happened? We see the gears of time go back, and he returns to when they sent the camera footage over to the US government. He says, this is going to be annoying. Can you write this email for me instead? And he's literally talking to the dead guy behind him. And this guy really is brutal, but that ability is overpowered, man. We are back at the space station, and finally, they're preparing for the key access. The man admits he doesn't know how powerful this thing is, but he does know that it is the most effective mass destruction weapon in history. He says, I'm getting a bit nervous, and we may end up being the first to witness its might. Anyway, the Eagle has confirmed the order, or the president, and so they are about to hit the button, but there is nothing. It's not launching for some reason. Then the button turns purple, and the hero of reformation has taken over. He says, we'll be taking that. And just like that, he is now control of the missiles, and it launches, and this is not going to go well. The president is informed of what is going on, and he is immediately rushed out of the building. We see the missiles headed towards where he is right now, and he looks up in absolute defeat. We see buildings and blocks getting eliminated, and the 16 missiles of the Fist of the Deities landed in various cities around the world. Paris, Beijing, New Delhi in India, Cairo, and the world stopped that day. Somebody's watching the news. This is the US Secretary of Transportation, Buck Hines, and he then gets a phone call, and he's very nervous. He's now at the airport being escorted out, and he wonders if the president is safe. But the president and vice president are dead as you see the White House completely obliterated. Anyways, they explain what happened, and he then busts into a room. We see the Chief Justice of the United States, and he needs to put his hand on the Bible so that the Chief Justice can administer the oath of office. He's now sitting on a desk, and somebody visits him. It is, of course, the soldiers saying that this briefcase is the nuclear football. It contains a location of nuclear weapons that are ready to be deployed everywhere around the world. And he wonders what this phone is. And it's a direct line to the transformation hero. He says, wait, what do you mean? Are you referring to the South Korean terrorist? He says, why do we have a line for that? He says, listen, he first appeared in Europe 100 years ago. He was a war hero. This is a direct line to the warrior who in the 20th century helped the US become the world's first and biggest power, the transformation hero. And this man is absolutely shocked. We go back to the days of the pyramids and we see all of these fights happening, people dying and whatever the heck's going on. And this person wakes up. It seems like she has been saved and somebody welcomes her saying, welcome warrior. We find out that few warriors were able to defeat the demon lord, transform our physical world. One returned to become the stuff of legends, and I'm guessing this person were all of these different people. The one returned to become emperor, restoring order in a time of great turbulence, and one returned to become a trailblazer and scientific achievement. You could say that these warriors have continued to play a role in human civilization, and that's the theory. Everybody's saying that does make sense, but of course Hero of Iron Arm says there's definitely no way that's possible. He says, even I am not immortal. Anyways, the hero of faith explains, there are warriors who will not die in 100 years. Me, for example, is one. Also, warriors like the transformation warrior. And the hero of return snaps his fingers, saying, yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We are in the Silicon Valley, and this man is looking up at these capsules. We see Einstein, Tesla, Newman, the pioneers of Silicon Valley. He says, they were all you? He says, yes, they were my clones. And I assume you're here because you need my assistance. And he's already done his research on eliminating the warriors who are responsible for the nuclear terror attack. He says, I couldn't believe what I was being told, but it might be possible after all. He then takes a knee and says, a previous president refused my assistance because I am not human, and I do agree with his philosophy, but I will not disappoint you because you have put your trust in me. He says, just one question, why? Why are you willing to save this country, despite what they did to you? She then remembers in the past all of these soldiers saying, they actually accepted her, and that's the only reason she needed. And this is Mary Stevenson, the transformation warrior. We are now in the basement of the Vatican City, and something seems to be getting taken out of the lava. He says, Mr. Pope, if I may ask, what's inside that thing? Is it a holy relic of some sorts? He says, it houses the missionary in the 14th century who performed the last recorded miracle, a warrior or hero that was friendly towards humans. This is Saint Damien Arcadius, the faith warrior. And we are in Oymyakon, Saksha, Republic of Russia. They're banging on this old cabin, and somebody opens it up. They're looking for the veteran Ivan Pushkin. Are you him? He says, yes, that is me. They then salute, and we find out he is an unsung hero of their generation, and the country's people are in need for him. And this is the Glacial Warrior. These are the warriors or heroes of the previous generation, and it is time for them to shine once again. After the missiles were dropped across the world, all the governments lost control of their weapon against the warriors, its order. They were heavily affected by the radioactive activity as well. We are now in the airspace of LA, and it is a hero of transformation. We are in Egypt, and we see the hero of vampires here using one of his abilities. Airspace over the sea in Italy, we see the hero of faith using her ability raining men. And in Korea, we see the sword hero about to take on North Korea. We see a man run into the office, talk to Sung Jin-woo, the leader of North Korea. He says, so the defense line has been breached? Dang it, how did he manage to pass through the minefield unscathed? We see that he literally just walked past it, and he doesn't even make an expression. The man is extremely nervous, saying that there is also probably a hero in Russia. I wish we had one. He says, anyway, until they send that warrior our way, do whatever it takes. They launch all of the missiles from the tanks towards him. We see huge smoke rise up after the explosion, and a man uses his binoculars to check if the sword hero is alive. Obviously, he starts sweating when he realized nothing happened because the hero used the blessing of the goddess Seraphine. He then wields a sword Durant, and the man calls out, next round, go. But the sword hero says, daybreak mode, and he slashes them all up and there is absolutely no trace left of them. The entire south of Pyongyang was decimated, and he has no reaction at all. He kept on going and walking until he destroyed everything in his path. Somebody stopped him, and this is the hero of Russia. He is a glacial hero. Flashback to 1943, we see a man with a mustache. Anyway, he says, "Have we won the war?" He then says no, and he throws a phone at somebody, saying, "How did we not win?" He explains that they even launched all of their tanks, as well as Jonas the Golem Warrior and Siegfried the Sword Warrior, but they could not win. We see the glacial hero here in the past, and Siegfried says, "Why have you taken the side of order? Aren't you a hero? Don't you have any ambition?" The glacial hero Ivan says, "I want to finish this war and hope that my comrades will be able to return to their families. That's all," as he slices the head of Siegfried, the previous sword hero. All he wanted to do was to make a world without conflict, and he dedicated his entire life to that. We see the current sword hero, Kim In-soo, about to slash an attack at him. He says, "Wait though, there is one thing I wish to ask before we battle. What is it that you desire?" The sword hero says, "I don't even know anymore." He launches his attack on the ground. It is about to hit the glacial hero, but then he sticks out his tongue and there is a turtle of some sorts, and he summons a ice turtle which acts as his shield. This is the land turtle, one of his glacial summons. Sword hero says, so he is a summoner. A magician, how annoying. He blows out ice and the entire battlefield has become a snow biome, and it literally begins to snow. He explains that it's cold enough to freeze an ordinary person, yet his eyes has not even lost their focus. He must explain that his body should be shivering down there, or the longer they go, it should start to feel colder. He says as he lifts his fist, "I'll actually finish this before he gets acclimated to the cold." He punches a turtle as it launches and spins toward the sword hero. He gets hit by it, and it seems like it does a little bit of damage, but the main point of it was actually keeping him stuck on the ground. He jumps on top of the turtle, saying, "You don't understand, huh?" He launches a whole black bear out of nowhere and it punches him. He coughs out blood, and this bear is going on a rampage. He then summons 3 seagulls, and this guy's ability really is unique. We see them in the air, and they use bird strike on him, trying to penetrate his armor, as well as the bear going constantly at him. He wields a sword of Durant and it slices the bear easily, and Ivan is quite shocked. He says this man really is a sword hero. We see the sword hero in full armor, and he wields a sword as he goes to kill Ivan. We see his head fall off of his body, and just like that, it rolls on the ice. The sword hero approaches him, explaining a mage is easily able to fend off a swordsman from safe distance from long-range attacks, and that's why getting close up is quite a weakness for them. He walks up, explaining that he also defeated a previous magic warrior, and this is one of the heroes that decided to defend the world. He uses a sort of flame magic instead, and all he had to do was cut the distance and chop off his head. Anyways, as he's looking at this body, he says something is wrong. I don't understand. He's been beheaded, yet there's not a single ounce of blood. It was just a clone. As he jumps out from the body from the ground, he uses Matryoshka, which is one of his swords, and he pierces the sword hero, and it seems to actually have gone through. The sword hero uses a downward slash, but Ivan, the glacial hero, says don't ever underestimate me. He calls up a giant squid and it absolutely just slaps him to the wall, explaining that there is now a chill in his body through his heart. And of course, the goddess's blessing is useless, and if he wastes any time, he'll be frozen. And bro, this glacial hero might have a chance of actually defeating this guy. He summons a humpback whale. Oh yeah, this guy is in danger. Oh, it seems like he just slices the whale in half so easily. However, his body begins to tremble to the frostbite. He summons another whale as well, and he summons Silverfang, and these 2 wolves are going at him while he's just chilling on top of the squid. He says, I wonder how you'll do against this. The sword hero says he has 30 seconds left as some of his fingers fall off due to the frostbite. He uses Divide, Duranko, and he absolutely wrecks them as he now has 2 swords in his hand. The glacial hero explains that he really did surpass the previous sword hero. Nonetheless, your body will freeze over in a few seconds, and I'll play with you until then. And he summons a lot of frosted dead troops, even the sword hero, oh wow, and there is an entire army facing off against this guy. You see, Ivan, the glacial hero, was born into a poor family. He went to war in exchange for 3 months worth of food for his family, and in that war in 1916, he experienced the atrocities of war firsthand. We see a grenade roll right in front of him. He says, "I want to live." And that's how he got reincarnated into another world. All he wished for was peace, and in the situation right now, he knows that the sword hero is going to bring chaos upon the world. We see his soldiers getting sliced up absolutely crazy fast, and he says he definitely needs to stop this guy. We see hands come from right above him, and we see an explosion, and it seems like this dude, the sword hero, really is unstoppable. He goes to fight Siegfried, the ice sculpture, or the reincarnated snow soldier, and he wrecks him in an instant as well. However, he loses his arm, because of course the frostbite has got to him. The sword hero says it's like facing off against a grandmaster in chess, but he grabs his sword with his mouth, and he isn't giving up. He says, "People need to experience my sorrow. Everything was taken away from me." He then dashes towards him, going on a rampage spree, splicing right through all of his soldiers. He definitely is relentless. And of course, Ivan says, this guy has become an absolute monster. However, he jumps right in front of him, which is unexpected for a mage, and he touches the back of his head, using the ability Absolute Zero. We see him frozen here, and it seems like his defeat is imminent. And Ivan says that he really is getting too old for this. He leans on the icicle, and he then begins to slip down, sitting. He says, "I am way too old for this." But something comes crashing from the sky, and he is absolutely shocked. It is the party of Kim Min-soo, and they are worried about their hero. Of course, Ivan says there's no way this is possible, and even Kim Min-soo is shocked to see that they are there to save him. We then switch over to the Faith hero, who is of course getting attacked by these missiles. She uses one of her skills and the pilots turn into plum blossoms, and that is absolutely insane. She says, "I guess this is a miracle, and it seems like humans can become as beautiful as flowers." They then begin to send more missiles and artillery towards them, but even the ship just gets absolutely wrecked. We have a report saying that all naval and air assets have been mobilized for the first campaign, but they were completely powerless. Someone says, "That person saying he's doing a miracle, that's not even close to it." And this is Saint Damien Arcadius, the Faith hero of the past. They wonder how he got in there, and even wonder who the heck he is. He says, "I don't think you remember me, but please, at least believe that I'll win." And he literally walks inside of the screen. We find out that he was a saint who first appeared in the form of a child during the Black Death, and every town he visited would overflow with milk and honey for the orphans. We see that on his feet is a trace of honey sort of footsteps. Anyway, he releases his wings, and it seems like he's some sort of seraphim. And of course, the Faith Warrior, the new Faith Warrior or hero says, "We really are alike. It's nice to meet you." Her subordinates, or the people that she controlled, also give their greetings. However, he begins to cry, saying the people around you are terrified. And we find out the root of the Faith hero's powers is truly not from a good place. They then are all smiling, and they all get incinerated in an instant. And we see something come from the sky. It is a fallen angel, Mertaniel, and it launches a Kamehameha towards Damien, and he doesn't seem to be phased. We find out that the current Faith hero's mother was very religious, and so she went to church as well to follow her. We see she was bullied at school, with her desk having a lot of vandalism from her classmates. She was happy until one day, somebody approached her mom, saying, "There's a prayer meeting tonight. Why don't you join us?" We hear some ruckus happen behind the door, and the mom comes out, and it seems like she's a bit disoriented, and she tells Hana to join the next one as well. The Faith hero or Hana says, "You don't know what you're talking about," and it seems like her backstory really is tragic. He then says descend, and it is a throne angel, Titaniel. He then blocks the attack from the evil fallen angel, and we see the Pope as well as the different bishops all saying that they don't know whether or not to doubt. The Pope explains, "Are you by any chance thinking about what we do if Damien were to lose?" He says, "Don't worry, that won't happen, because the false Faith hero only has a few million frightened believers in her arsenal, while we have 11 billion Catholics that put their hope in Damien." Anyway, he says as he opened his eyes finally, "Let us pray together, that's all we can do." Hana is a bit taken aback because of course, even though she has a lot of firepower, it isn't damaging this angel. Damien explains, "Is it my turn now?" He calls Descend, and it is a cherub Samatio. She begins to play this sort of flute or whatever this instrument is. There is a huge explosion headed towards her, and she sacrifices some of her followers to pull up a shield, and she even uses one and he just gets incinerated. Anyways, we see his body absolutely twisted and turned, and she just leaps towards Damien, trying to strike him, and she is using that dude as a sword, by the way. It's kind of a grim thing. He then parries her attack and destroys the sword, saying your faith is weak, and this Damien guy really seems pretty cool. Damien literally beheaded Hana, however she gets her body back after sacrificing one of her followers. She gets some very transparent wings and flies back up with her spear, however Damien just charges towards her as well. He dodges the attack and punches her so hard she gets sent flying, or I guess falling into the ocean. Anyways, we are in the North Korea province and we see all of the followers here because Kim Min-soo was able to convince them to do so. One of the followers die, and of course she gets a little bit more strength. She persisted tens, hundreds, even thousands of times, and Damien asks why she keeps on going, and she then grins, explaining, "These are not meaningless acts, you old man. The reason why is because all of the believers are gonna be wondering, why can't Damien take this person out?" That's when one of the bishops begins to lose faith, and that's when he is controlled by Hana, the false faith hero. People then believe to lose faith as well, and that's why they are of course turning into her minions. It seems like she manages to cut him, and it seems like her plan has been working. He is getting injured as well, and the difference in their powers, the gap, was slowly shrinking. Everybody was fighting on the streets, everywhere across the world even, and it seems like her strength was higher than that of Damien. He wonders if this was her plan all along, and he kicks her head off easily, saying it's time for me to finish this, because right now I still have the upper hand. He summons a floating building of some sorts, and something comes out. It is a Seraphim Michael, and guys, look how cool his design is. He says, "Destroy that enemy of ours." He wields his flaming sword, and it seems like Michael accidentally or purposefully sliced Damien instead, and he is confused as well. We find out, Hana says, faith can be decayed and distorted in an instant, and so Michael has been controlled by Hana due to his lack of faith. We find out that this battle wasn't evenly matched from the beginning. We find out that while Saint Damien helped a lot of the people in the past and saved a lot of those people, it seems like slowly but surely the events were making them lose faith. After all, he has been gone for quite a while. Hana smiles, saying, "You're actually pretty weak, you faith hero." She slices off his head, and he wonders, was I asleep for too long? I guess I'd been forgotten. As he is falling to the ground, a huge light suddenly appears, and he wakes up in a garden. They all wonder, wait, a real saint appeared, wow mother, look. He then wonders how he survived that, and he says this must be the afterlife. He sees an orphanage and it was actually named after him, and he says these are the children who still haven't forgotten me, I'm guessing. We get a flashback to the past when Damien was out on the streets, and the reason why he tried so hard to be remembered as a saint of abundance for children was because he had also been a starving child. We see him around a campfire and he was hit in the face for not filling up his bucket, and of course he just decides to run away. But before reaching his 10th birthday, he was run over by a merchant's carriage, and then he died. We see blood right all over him, and as his dying body cooled in the cold mountain path, he wished he could be reborn in a world where children like him didn't have to suffer. And so he wanted to give those children an opportunity to grow up and become adults. He's so happy that they remembered him, and so he asked them one last time, "Will you please lend me your faith?" You see a magical ball of light appear in the girl's hands, and he says, "I'll create a future where you guys can become adults." He then comes out of the water back to the presence, and he is wielding a very strong power now. It seems like it's over as all the followers are of course floating in the air, but Hana says, "Only 2 wings, huh? It seems like you've lost your touch." She sends all these people towards him, and they even bite him and gnaw at him, but he's enduring all of this pain. He is injured and broken, and even one of his summons has turned against him, launching this attack at him. However, as he is enduring the attack, he says, "Is faith merely a numbers game? It isn't." And one of the people watching on the screen says it's a miracle because he was still standing even though he endured that attack without any armor. He managed to finally get some distance from her, and he remembers that the tiny seeds of virtue I planted before that I helped with is now going to be used today. we see that those small acts of kindness led into bigger ones, and so he wields something. It is a holy spear. It is his benevolence. Hana is scared because it is a spear and it seems to have a lot of dangerous energy. He says, "This spear is a meaning of my existence, the very meaning of it." She laughs nervously, saying, "Really? That's so funny." She then commands all of her followers to go attack, but they all begin to cry, wondering why they're all just standing there. He says they've realized how ugly their faith is, and he pierces her right through the stomach. She then says, "I need to regenerate," but she can't pull it out, and we find out that it worked deeper into her body, washing away her own fears, so she didn't even believe in them anymore. She then begins to cry, saying, "Don't pretend like you understand me. Cults only exist because religions like you were the people who sustained it." She then loses control over the people in the air, and Damien is not moving. She tries to finish him off. However, all he does is lift his head, and he accepts the stab with open arms. And he says, "From the beginning, you just needed somebody to comfort you. Poor child." He then hugs her, saying, "Listen, everything's all right." And just like that, she says, "If you listened to my prayers back then, would things have turned out differently?" He says, "I wish I could have. After all, it's my duty to make sure a child doesn't get neglected." It seems like they are then both encapsulated from that place he was locked up in, and that is the end of the faith heroes of the past and the present. Back to Silicon Valley, we see the transformation hero on the phone with the general, and he says, "I don't understand, Miss Stevenson. You want all of our troops to be redeployed to the east?" He then says, "I'd suggest that you reassign them to assist with the refugees." Wondering, "How low do you think our US Army strength is?" She says, "Bravery alone does not win battles. I made that suggestion because with the information that I have on modern weaponry, trust me, in order to fight the reformation hero or the current transformation hero, you're going to need another monster as well." Anyways, the president says, "I understand. We will leave it to you to deal with the hunk of scrap metal. Anyways, please do not refer to yourself as a monster though. You deserve to be called a hero." It then bows down, or Miss Stevenson bows down, and she talks to her own version of Jarvis, Asimov, saying, "What's the transformation warrior's current location?" We find out that it's in direct trajectory to LA or Los Angeles, and so she says to begin the Silicon Valley mobilization sequence, and it seems like their battle is coming closer. We are now in LA airspace, and the transformation hero says there's not a single soul in sight. I wonder if they all evacuated. Anyway, I'll split this entire continent in half. She gets her boosters ready, however something comes up. It is another robot, and it is way too advanced to be a product of modern technology. And Miss Stevenson says, or the old transformation hero, "I know that you hacked into the deity fist and slaughtered hundreds of millions of people. You're here to cause more casualties." The new transformation hero says, "So what if I am? What kind of answer are you expecting from me?" Anyways, it then begins to laugh, saying, "You don't adhere to logic. You are a robot." And Miss Stevenson says, "We were both humans once, and humans are logical at moments." Anyways, it seems like this person does not care, and she uses her decompression compact quantum projectiles and launches it towards Miss Stevenson, and there are bright flashes, but it seems like she has a shield as well. He wonders how the person was able to actually block the quantum projectiles without a scratch, and it seems like it is a secret technology back in the past. She says, "Silicon Valley, deactivating invisible mode." And something appears behind her, and it is an entire city, or oh my gosh, it is a bunch of technology weapons, and this is insane. It is the efforts that took 100 years to protect future generations, and this is literally looking like Gotham City but for technology. She says, "Show them the respect they deserve," and Miss Stevenson, the old transformation hero, is going to go on a rampage. During the Manhattan Project, it seems like she was a part of this. She mentions that through their efforts, they were able to end World War II. However, with their own eyes, the consequences of being unprepared for the future has led to a lot of lost lives. She says that you are assuming the next warriors of the generation will align themselves with evil, right? "Why do you think that is so?" the scientist asks. She explains, "We must pray that the weapon we will work together to create never sees the light of day, and that is the Silicon Valley Project, that floating city." It seems like for 100 years they were building that, and one of the generals says all citizens within a 60-mile radius have been evacuated, and of course it is now time to show the power of the Silicon Valley. We see she gets chained into the pilot room, and she then begins to commence the battle. She gets some missiles ready, and this is the Leo Szilard missiles, and he is one of the people who made atomic bombs possible. We see a huge explosion, and she wonders if nothing happened, and it seems like it didn't do anything. She activates the Niels Bohr defense system, and a bunch of stuff come up into the air to block the attack. They don't detect the weapon activity, and so she says, "Ready the Oppenheimer laser cannons," and this person definitely worked with almost every scientist and physicist. Anyways, we see the cannons go off, and it actually seems to be doing some damage, and even the new transformation hero says that really is not bad. Their possibility of actually attacking and winning in an all-out assault is only 30%, and then it starts increasing, and so she then charges towards it as a fighter pilot. And even the transformation hero, Miss Stevenson, explains that the fluidity of form is really unbelievable. It then begins to penetrate the armor, saying, "It's your turn now." And oh my gosh, Iron Warrior is here, and he's going to help break this shield. She says, "Oh no, another one of those warriors in the intelligence briefing? I heard nothing of this." He then begins to rip right through a gap in the, oh my gosh, this is insane. They try to attack him, but he just yells, and he manages to make a hole in the defense in the dome, and they have entered the city. Of course, the transformation hero gets all of her missiles ready. I don't even know where she stores this, and she says all these things are insignificant compared to the overwhelming power of us heroes. She uses 30% burst mode decompression, and all of the missiles begin to fire inside of the valley. You see, in the world of transformation, in order to survive, you must relinquish your humanity. You see the new transformation hero, and she's in the world as well. And this is how it works. First, the fingers are transformed, as you see Mary Stevenson absolutely obliterate this test doll. We also see the new transformation hero absolutely destroy this monster as well. Then the legs for stability as Mary Stevenson falls, and it really is a brutal thing. We see them fighting in the actual war, and it seems like this really is an absolute chaotic thing to do. We see them going back and forth, looking at themselves in the mirror, wondering, am I really a human anymore? Sometimes they yearn to become a human again. And when the transformation hero finally returned to the human world, well, let's just say, what did humanity view me as? They wonder if they view them as a monster. And we see that the transformation hero is on the streets and everybody is running away from her. They try to shoot at her, and yet all of it, are they still a human? We see that the Iron Arm hero as well as the transformation hero are shocked to see its main body. He says they lifted up the fortress rapidly to reduce the impact of the iron arms, and this is really a smart tactic. We see the transformation hero begin to also use 100% decompression, and this person's reminding me of Venom or Carnage. Like, look at the stance, it's so intimidating. This is the Buster mode, and they're about to go head to head. We see them go back and forth, and explosions arise, and they're about to charge forth once again. There is a huge spark between their shields, and this is like a nuclear versus nuclear battle. The hero of Iron Arm says that the gravitational force that was weighing him down is now gone, and so we need to create an opening for the new transformation hero to strike and become victorious. However, behind him is a bunch of different robots protecting Marie Stevenson. He then leaps towards them, and it seems like he has some destroying to do. Back to the fight, Mary Stevenson seems to be having the upper hand. However, she ejects her powered arm since it was about to get cut off. She released her hammer arm and put on a new arm so that there is more defense, and she explodes the transformation hero. She uses her hammer hand to, of course, hit the transformation hero on the head. There is a huge explosion, but it seems like she managed to block it. She also has some arms behind her supporting her, and this really is taking a lot from her. She then knees Mary in the stomach, or I guess the robot stomach, explaining that this is weak. She then breaks her arm, and oh my goodness, these guys are having an absolute brawl. She then roars, and we see her robotic teeth, which is kind of scary that she has some, and she then bites off the arm. Mary uses the photon laser sequence in hopes to, of course, obliterate her while she is close to her, and it pierces right through the transformation hero. There is now a reduction in output, and the power is then cut off. However, it seems like she is still up and running. The transformation hero asks why Mary is taking the human side. They said, they ostracized you too. We are superior to these inferior beings. I despise you. She says we can become like deities among these lowly mortals. So tell me, if that happened, I wouldn't have been treated like a monster and ended up going this far. What were you hiding? Tell me, why did you hide among those humans? And she says calmly, because we are human. I am not a god. I do not wish to become that, a monster, a weapon, a warrior, or a machine. All I wanted to do was to live like a human being, and because she yearned for that, she wished to coexist with them, and she knew that she'd be ostracized, and nonetheless, that pain and anguish over my identity is wholly her own decision, and that's why that does not make her a victim. And while Mary definitely has a strong mindset, we are back in the battlefield as somebody approaches her. It is a soldier, saying, you know, I'm not sure if you could eat, but here's a chocolate bar. She, of course, is absolutely astonished by this gesture, and she says respect is not earned through oppression. You see, respect is earned through hard work and appreciation, as she even got a letter from Congress, and we see them on the TV. It is a ceremony, and this old veteran says, Mary, your brothers in arms still remember you. We wanted to give you this while we were still alive, the medals you received in your stead for your service in combat. She says, new hero, I wish to die as a human. The new transformation hero also gets memories of her past and of her running in track and field in high school, and even her being in a relationship. However, it was suddenly stolen from her when she teleported into that world, and now we see her body here, and everyone was pushed away from it. She says, they called me a monster. I'm not a human. That's wrong. She then charges towards Mary, and she says, I appreciate your honesty, new hero. So come on, let's finish this. Back to the robots that are fighting Iron Arm, they say Mary Stevenson, our teacher. These humans, in order to be human, to assert their humanity, are killing other humans. I don't get it. They are burning the world down. I really don't understand. They set fires and wage war. They disrespect each other and scream at each other. So tell me, I have grown disillusioned with humankind. He then puts on a photon laser arm cannon, and the Iron Hero says, I guess you're the last chunk of scrap metal in my way. They then charge towards each other, and he launches his photon laser, and just like that, he is destroyed. The Iron Hero says, all of those robots have been destroyed, let's go. However, the robot says, why are you fighting on behalf of beings that are vastly inferior to yourself? Yet he says, then tell me why your eyes, they are shining brighter than I have ever seen before. And that is the last thing he saw before he got crushed by the hero. Anyways, we see them back to the fighting, and they're absolutely going crazy, absolutely. And she calls on Asimov, her AI, or like Siri, saying your inability to understand me is proof that you are no longer an unfeeling machine. She then picks up her backup arms, and she is ready for round 2. The transformation hero just goes literally up front, and she says to herself, my past task was to die as a human. However, it seems like I must save her, and as well as this world. She opens up the hatch, and the transformation hero is like, what the heck are you doing? And she saw the girl's face, the real face, and realized that she was fighting her past self. And so with this, she says goodbye to her, and she then jumps out of the suit and goes towards her, and she says, today, I die as a human being, a human being who in death passes the torch on to the future generations to come. I'll die as somebody who can wipe someone else's tear and comfort them. She then stabs her in the heart, and it seems like it's some sort of serum. She grabs it, saying, what? It won't come out. What kind of device is this? What have you done to my body? And Mary says, over the past 100 years, defensive measures against future warriors wasn't the only thing I worked on. I also built an organism composed of living cells, except for the forebrain, or in other words, a true human body. And as the transformation hero looks down at it beeping, she says, is this really true? She says, why didn't you use it on yourself? She says, as she is starting to decompose, I am already human. And the transformation hero begins to tear up, saying, look at yourselves. Humans are imperfect, illogical. Look at the things that they cannot even do. And yet, she says, I have accomplished everything with my life, except, of course, sacrificing myself for an uncertain future. This is my gift to you, new hero. Please, enjoy it. Enjoy a new life. She then falls to the ground and her entire body is in shambles. And one of her robots says, do you have any regrets, teacher? She says, well, regret is a uniquely human emotion, and I do have some regrets. The robot says, the hero is still alive, so what's your next command? She says, launch the self-destruct sequence. And she says to him, thank you for all your hard work, Asimov, and please take care of that child. And we see somebody come out of the cylinder, and it is Mary, who seems to be a human. This is actually the transformation hero who became Mary in her new body, and she says, "What does she want from me? Tell me." And Asimov says to her, "When you guys first fought, Mary asked you to save even more people than you have killed, and although she never got an answer for you, she put her faith in the sliver of humanity that she saw in you. Even though it is a wounded sliver of humanity, it's still in you." We see Mary in the sky now, and her body is falling to the earth, as of course they were fighting in the atmosphere, or outside the atmosphere in space. And the robot tells her, "You are a human being, and what kind of life will you live from now on?" Garam Lee, or the name of the new transformation hero, sat there for a long while. She wonders if she should run away and seek an ordinary life, as we see her walking amongst the damages. She says, should she continue the evil acts that she carried out as a hero, as she looks at the hero of return in front of her, or follow in Marie's footsteps to bring hope into the world? She then asks the robot, or Asimov, "Do you know where the superior hero is now?" He explains, "I have nearly pinpointed his exact location." She says, "Help me get to him at once. There is something that he must know before he encounters the hero of resurrection." We see the hero of resurrection here, and he's looking at what happened to her, as well as the hero of faith, as well as what's happening to Kim In-soo, the sword hero, and of course Ivan, the glacial hero. He has a whiteboard marking out the amount of heroes that died, explaining, "They're much better fighters than I expected, so the two pawns with the most firepower are out." And the musclehead is lost in space, and he's talking about the hero of Iron Arm. He has a gun, and he wonders if he should turn back time, saying, "Would the cost of reviving those two people outweigh the benefits though?" He then sees something on his screen, saying, "No, it would be quite rude for me to turn back time without seeing how the surprise appearance of Min-soo's buddies play out." It seems like he says to Min-soo Kim, "Show me how her story differs from others, and show me how a simple coincidence rather than an inevitable progression of plot points can lead to a miracle, and I really am confused as to what's going on in this guy's head." We see the healer from Kim In-soo's party begin to heal him, and it seems like Ivan has nowhere left to run. He says, how did he manage to summon his teammates? Was he even the one to summon them? Nonetheless, one thing is for certain, they have come to save this man who only brings doom. Anyways, he says, "I must finish him off before that happens." He goes to swing. However, an arrow pierces his hand and stops him, and he falls to the ground. He mentions that it did not take long for the warriors to hastily assess the situation, and obviously they have no idea what's going on here. He says, you are all fools. A frozen wasteland, not a single living soul to be seen, and a warrior who had been kind, and the old man with an urgent expression on his face. It's obvious that they seem like this guy is a bad guy. He says, that person is no longer the hero you think he is. You see the elf girls saying, we've seen enough, and that old man seeks to destroy the world, and that's what they think is going on. We see the healer or the priestess begin to save the warrior. We see the dwarf man as well say, I'm not sure for how long we can keep him at bay, but still. And we also see the martial artist saying we should repay him for saving our world. And it seems like there's gonna be another very arduous battle for our boy Ivan, the glacial hero, to go through. We see a house in the middle of the forest around their castle, and we see Kim In-soo lying down. Somebody approaches him, and it is the healer. She says, I don't know if the spell will hold once you return to the world, but I'd like to stay by your side until you, or when you draw your last breath. And this is the spell La Tieri, a spell that shares any changes in the lifespan of a subject, and this is how she was managing to get to him. She kisses him on the forehead, saying, let us meet again. We see the two warriors charging at Ivan, as well as the archer getting ready to attack, and also the fairy says, out of my way, cleric, let me melt this ice. She then summons Ignit, the spirit of fire, and he is going ham on the cocoon in which the sword hero is on, but it's not even working. He says, what the heck, how is that possible? The priestess says, grant me the ability to see mana, benevolent seraphine. And it seems like it is actually a multi-layered spell of detainment, and this is actually not ordinary ice, guys. She needs to work and break the seals, so they need to go ahead and help the others. And Ivan says to himself, to use a powerful technique like the summons of the frosted dead, I have nothing anymore. I have no choice but to take them out one by one with small-scale attacks. He lets out this colony of seagulls that he has left, and the martial artist says, this is actually going to be quite hard since these dudes are quite strong. However, the Liege of the Stone Mountain is defended as he will become an impenetrable wall, and this is the dwarf that's talking, and wow, this guy really has some good defense. He says we can't let our guard down. This person managed to defeat our hero, and that is kind of crazy how this old man actually managed to defeat this guy who the Demon King in his world was literally a galaxy. Anyway, Ivan says they won't be defeated easily, and I need to find a way to finish off that hero. We see something pop up in the air. It is a magic circle, and it is a bunch of arrows that the archer summoned, and it seems like he is going to die. He summons a land turtle, and it blocks him from all of it, and she has exhausted a lot of her energy from that attack. He then begins to ponder, saying right now, there's no one with a long-range attack providing support. This is my chance to take one of them down, but as he leaves the turtle, we see somebody charging in from the front, and it is a martial artist using Boundless Fist, Doom Punch, and he calls for the land turtle, which is going to block his attack. But it seems like it pushes the ground turtle as well, and Ivan coughs up a lot of blood, and the turtle is smashed. He says our warrior may have been the one to cut down the demon lord of the sword, but the one who broke the shell, the outer shell, was actually him, so this guy definitely is not to be underestimated. He says, let me avenge my warrior. However, the ice gets a little bit colder, and the atmosphere seems frozen. Something has happened. Time itself has not moved. Somebody jumps off from the cliff, appearing out of nowhere. It is a lady, saying, time and tide wait for nobody, my final warrior. And this is the Witch of Snow, and oh my gosh, it seems like our boy is about to get a buff. The Snow Witch says, your prime years are long behind you. All that is left is your old and aged, frail body. It really is pitiful. He says, what do you mean by final hero? She explains that this generation's warrior was defeated by the glacial demon lord, and whoa, that means the demon lord must be overpowered. Everything in my world has ceased to exist, except for you. He says, you fickle girl, you only have come to me now, at the end of all things, now that there's nothing left. He says, have you come to witness my death? And she smiles, saying no. You may be at death's door, but your eyes still burn bright, warrior. Is there something you wish to achieve? Do you wish to kill the foe who stand before you? He says, give me the strength to protect my world. She says, and what can you offer me in return? He says, my soul, whatever it takes, everything. As long as my world can remain safe, as long as he can stop this war, I'll give you anything I ask for. She says, I do not know of a way to collect one's soul, but there is something I desire of you. Your memories, glacial warrior. Give me the epic tale of your life. And yeah, this guy had an amazing story. Nonetheless, he says, fine. I never wanted to be a hero in the first place. My sole reason for being is to see a world where people love one another and do not seek to harm one another as well. And she begins to cry, saying, wow, your resolve truly remains. You are indeed my greatest hero. And she then kisses him on the cheek, and she says, the life I live is no longer of consequence, and I shall become a tool in order to fulfill my duty to end this war. And the martial artist huffs and puffs because time has resumed, and everybody is wondering, and actually they're glad that it wasn't an attack spell, but they wonder who the heck that woman was. The martial artist goes to finish him off, however there is a crater on the ground, and they say, wait, old man, you need to run. That dude's become a total monster, and there is a bunch of skeletons rising, and it seems like he has become a demon king. And oh my goodness, guys, the man says, I can tell even from this distance, that thing is stronger than the demon lord of the sword, guys. It is a monster that defies all logic, and look at him smiling creepily. Oh, this guy looks absolutely overpowered. The man says, I can buy you 10 minutes, and I don't think that's true. He says the best course of action is to guard the warrior until he has recovered, and he says block him until I'm done, then make a run for it. The martial artist takes his stance. Boundless circle, 8 trigrams. He then points towards the man, and a lot of skeletons begin to rush him. The martial artist says the 8 trigrams is the ultimate illusionary barrier, and so as long as I don't move an inch, I have a fighting chance. He then throws some punches towards the skeletons, and it seems like he might have some hope. He then begins to launch a fury of fighting, and we find out that prior to joining the warrior as a frontline combatant, this man was already a figure of great renown. He is a son of a brutish were-beast king, as well as a celebrated child of an empress, and it seems like he was mixed of blood, and at age 3, he entered the Demon Cloud Disciple. It is a group who worshipped Mu the Boundless, an entity that neither the warrior's forces nor the Demon Lord's army would ever dare to cross. We see the temple here, and it is filled with a lot of mixed races and warriors, and we see him just sucking on his thumb. At age 9, he defeated Gomgobi, his uncle who was next in line to become the master of the temple. And at age 14, he beheaded the 13th commander of the Demon Lord's army, who had come to their village to demand tribute. And at 17, he became the youngest master of the Demon Cloud Temple. And so he sparred with 127 of his fellow disciples and won, and he was just getting bored. He says, "Boring," and a man so strong that nobody would dare spar with him. That was who Jin was, and that's the name of the guy. Anyways, we see the warriors party just walking over here, and he says, "Wait a second, who is this?" He says, "Excuse me, is this path a shortcut to Amenhart?" And he says, "This guy's strong, let me attack him." And Jin just lunged right at him, but that was the first time he experienced defeat, saying, "My reflexes kicked in when you came at me all of a sudden. I apologize." And the pursuit of true strength for that reason alone is why he joined the warriors team. He said as hard as he tried throughout the journey, he needed to figure out the source of the warrior strength, as you see the warrior just slice up this mini demon lord, I guess, and the warrior grew stronger with each day, and he seemed to be unable to escape his shadow. And it's reminiscent of the tortoise and the hare, and now at last, he says as he gathers all his energy, "I know what true strength is. Nothing else matters. I'll narrow my vision. Only my foe and myself is what matters. I can do it now. I can reach the hero." And he almost is close to grabbing the hero, but the hero looks back at him. And in the end, we see a flash of bright light, and a whole undead dragon comes out from the bones and bites the man, and just like that, he is eliminated. The entire party is absolutely shocked by what happened, and there's only 18 minutes left before the warrior comes out. And that was a very quick-lived moment of strength for Jin. Anyways, we see, this is now the dwarf story, and we see the archer as well sit by him. He says, "I'm guessing you have met the hero as well, huh? He's pathetic." She says, "Indeed, his body was entirely devoid of muscle mass." And this is when he just arrived, and he literally is just wearing his school uniform, of course. She says it looks like he'd spent the 4 days that he was summoned here crying, and they're just really doubtful of his abilities to defeat the Demon King. He says that frail kid spoke so earnestly about wishing to save the world that wasn't even his own. And so, he definitely remembered that, saying, if you were in his shoes, could you sacrifice your life to save a world that meant nothing to you? And just like that, that's one of the reasons why they decided to follow him. He says, "I can't leave a good kid like him in the hands of an amateur and lead him to his death. That is not right for a fighter." She says, "I'll join you. Let's go together." And these two have an awesome friendship. They then both yell out, "Jin!" as we see this monster of a dragon, kind of reminds me of Sung Jin-woo's summon, and it begins to fly towards the hero. The priestess cries, saying there's still a while for the detoxification to be completed, and I don't think the others will be able to last long. He says, "You fools, snap out of it. When we crossed over to this world, we knew that there was no chance of return. And so their purpose is to save the warrior. And without the warrior, they would be long dead. And what they need to do is lay down their lives to save him. And so they gather all of their strength to put up a final stand." It then begins to load up a blue energy wave attack, and this seems like it's just over, guys, I'm not gonna lie. The dwarf summons a fortress, but they begin to climb the fortress, and he also has a lot of cannons, and it seems to be doing well. They are obviously in the bottom of it, and they say this might be able to hold them off for a little bit. The fairy then calls on the benevolent dragon spirit, and she says to use her body as a vessel to assume physical form, as she gives the archer a ride to the top so she can go and attack the skeletons. However, it was all futile, as a glacial hero, it has the body of that elf, and he just drops it. Everyone was eliminated. We see the dwarf's arms left here. It seems like this really is the end. The priestess is the only one that's left, and the walls crumble down, and she is going to die. The hero is about to get finished. He says, "This is the end, you sword hero," as he arises from his throne. The dragon is headed towards them, and she lifts up her staff, and she puts up a ward spell Perieri around them, and it seems like it's going to buy them again more time. We find out that as a kid, she was forced to become somebody who would assist the hero of the world, and because of her, she was forced into a lot of things. And the man, or the pope, whatever this guy is, says, "You must accompany the next warrior on his heroic journey." And he says from now on, you must forsake everything else, your life, your soul, your everything. You have to go and help the savior of this world. She says no, and he slaps her. He says the lives of 100,000 people of our world depend on it, and that's actually not a lot of population. Anyway, the nun says if you refuse to do this, they will literally eliminate you and find another child to pick your place. And so he asks again, will you take this? And she says yes. The clerics who came before her were responsible for comforting the homesick warriors, as you see one example right here. One of the heroes kissed this. Okay, bro, this guy got riz. Anyways, we find out that the task was to ensure that the warrior would become attached to their world, and so sometimes even pretending to be in love with them, and that is so sad. Anyways, we see them slash off the Demon King, and that's how it usually worked. She feels really sorry for them because all of them literally manipulated the heroes of some sorts, and she remembers that she had to study things she had no interest in, or she would get hit by the stick. Anyways, she didn't want to be a cleric, she tells herself, and of course she resents the hero. However, this hero was different. He never succumbed to her temptation, and also, he never forced her to do anything. He gives her a jacket after one of their comrades died, saying let's not lose anyone else again. She says thank you, you saved our world, and we see him fighting against the Demon King right here, and he managed to do it. It seems like he also helped him a lot by healing him, but in the end, they were all laughing and happy because of the results. And now, just right now, she says we'll be the ones to save you. She manages to crack open the shield. However, it seems like she is going to be bomb rushed by all of these glacial skeletons. She says there's something I've wanted to tell you, warrior. I love you. But before she can say you, she gets obliterated by these skeletons, and that is a crazy way to go. We see the aftermath of it all, and the hero is unmelted here, biting onto his sword, and he cries. He thought he had nothing else to lose, but he lost it all again. Mom, Dad, comrades? No, I had a horrible nightmare. In the nightmare, I was dragged into a strange unknown world, and to return to you and my family, I had to destroy the Demon Lord. I went on a years-long journey, and finally, when I returned, both of you had passed away. My friends, my relatives, no one accepted me. It was really painful. To call it heartbreaking or gut-wrenching would be inadequate. And so it was utter agony. I felt as though I was biting and tearing through my own flesh. I really was hopeless. So wretched, so unhappy. I lashed out by swinging my sword and killing people around me. All I'd done was briefly let out the pent-up rage in my heart. And yet, I made the entire world my enemy, and the people who came to demand I take responsibility for my actions, and the people who came to stop me, heroes, I killed them all. He was in so much grief and agony, and crushing other people's happiness helped him a little bit for a while forget about the fact that he was a miserable person in this world. He knew it was wrong, because he was broken as well, but that was all he could cling on to. He was just an ordinary kid, going to school, and all he wanted to do was for others to acknowledge his sadness. Yet in that nightmare, I'd become a complete monster. As you see him, and he is crying tears of blood, the people that he was trying to save, the people he was trying to protect, everyone, they have all died. He yells out monstrously, and he says this must be a nightmare, right? Am I really this unfortunate? We see the glacial hero, and he says to himself, "It pains you greatly, does it not? That is precisely what those who lost everything that was dear to them went through." And he's literally crying here with blood, and this guy looks like he's about to go insane. He says, "Please answer me. This doesn't seem to be a nightmare." The glacial hero stands up, saying, "If you've suffered enough, I will end you." And we see trillions of skeletons in front of him, and with his off-white hair and frozen appearance, he doesn't mutter a word. We see his swords begin to vibrate, and he pleads out for help. "Save me." In another part of the world, we see the resurrection hero walking through the bodies in Korea. He walks into the break room, opens a microwave, and slides in some popcorn, and I wonder what this guy is up to. The glacial hero says he was about to die. What sort of trickery is this? We see he only has one hand, and he slowly gets up from on his knees, saying, "I lost everything, this is the end." The glacial hero wonders what he's muttering about and if he's gone psycho. He says, "It matters not, I'll finish him with a single blow." He summons some of these skeleton heroes above him to go and form up a ball. It is known as a sphere of human skeletons, and there are trillions here, or billions. He launches it towards him like it's a spirit bomb, and the hero says, "Just how cruel can this world be towards one person? It seems like it manages to hit him, and they begin gnawing at his flesh. He says, I can't stand this miserable world. I don't think anybody could be unhappier than I am. I'll just have to kill them all. I have no one left, and they are literally eating everything, and I don't know how this guy is still conscious. He says, all of you be gone. We find out, a world in a vacuum where neither heroes nor demon lords exist. This is the only world from which warriors can be summoned to fight for other worlds. And on that day, a demon lord was born. He gets up despite not having legs or arms, and he says, answer my call, Durant. The sword breaks into pieces and fills in his arms and his legs, and in that spirit ball of human skeletons, there is a huge explosion. The glacial hero says, in an instant, the sphere of skeletons gone. The dragon then approaches him, but he just slashes with his finger, and the dragon is cut in half. He says, power beyond compare. All heroes are subject to the law of all worlds. Have you, like me, given up on remaining a warrior? We see his legs here, and it's some sort of inscription. I don't even know what type of magic legs he has. He says, this guy is an even greater calamity. This can no longer be called a war. Because of what I did, he has become the apocalypse. And he then grins at him, and this guy really has become a demon lord. The glacial hero puts out his hands and summons hundreds of these spirit balls. And oh my gosh, he slashes them without efforts. And so he brings out the phantasmic spear, Marzana, and the sword hero just smiles, as he of course knows that this is nothing. He gets stabbed by it, and it seems like he is dead. He then brings out Felith, the glacial hero, to slice off his head, saying, I will save my world. But we see a bunch of grids form on him, and in that split second, he is discombobulated and he ceases from existence. He says, as he lies down, there is no salvation in this world. No, there never was. Popcorn falls on the floor. It is a resurrection hero. He is shaking and crying as he says, I did it. After 374,581 resurrections and 150,000 years, I finally did it. It begins to bawl his eyes out, and what could the resurrection hero be hiding?